we're talking about the transgender issue all the time, and Women's History Month now, I guess Women's History Month celebrates men who think that they're women. There is a point that an Olympic athlete just made. Her name is Sharon Davies, former British Olympic swimmer, celebrated this decision by the World Athletics to ban trans-identifying athletes from women's events, publicly thanking the organization's president, Sebastian Coe. And here's what she said. She said, "Women are not a testosterone level. This was always a bogus argument and should never have been considered, a waste of time and money. Male biology advantage is real. It cannot be fully mitigated against. Females of all ages and all sports are deserving of fair, safe sport as much as males get. No one's banned from sport, just a category they don't qualify for." I have heard a lot of conservatives say, look, what are we going to do with the transgender thing? We'll just test people's testosterone. If you got too much testosterone, then you've got to compete with the men. And then if you don't have enough testosterone, you compete with the women. No, guys. Yes, some people have more testosterone than others. Not every man is just brimming with virility and testosterone like some of us here, okay? Some people are at a disadvantage in that regard. But they can still be men. Men are not just testosterone. Women are not just estrogen. To accept the testosterone levels standard for sports is to accept transgenderism, is to accept the idea that men and women are either entirely reducible to their bodies or not at all reducible to their bodies, which is what they say. The transgenderists hold both views. They'll say, hey, if I chop my family jewels off and I get prosthetic breasts and I put on a wig and I put on a dress, I am really a woman. If I have the appearances of a woman, then I really am a woman. Or they'll say, no, it doesn't matter. I could have a big beard. I could be big husky Hank walking into the women's locker room. But if I think that I'm a woman, then I'm a woman. But both of those views are not correct. Because human beings are not just body, and we're not just not body. We're body and soul together. The body is our material self. The soul is the substantial form of our body. Sex derives from the body, from our natural body, and it applies to the whole person as an inseparable accident that persists as long as the individual exists. We just are. We just are a man or we are a woman. Sports, in many ways, even male sports, you're judging how manly a man is. And the manlier men are going to beat the less manly men in a lot of sports. Well, the less manly men are still men. And a lot of the point of the sport is to figure out who's the best competitor. Women are not just estrogen. They're not a testosterone level. Women are a real category, a real natural category. And no amount of tinkering and scientific witchcraft and ideological jumping jacks and somersaults, none of that is going to change what a man is and what a woman is. You saw another example of this absurdity over the weekend. Some dude won a women's cycling event, I believe in New York. Photo was going around the internet. You see that down there on the number 3 spot, you see some woman holding her trophy in the air, whatever, I guess a bottle of champagne. Then on the number 2 spot, you see another woman smiling. She's got her bottle of champagne. And then on the number 1 spot is a big hulking dude, both arms in the air with a bottle of champagne. And if I were the husband of the number 2 woman, I would be really, really angry at the dude in the number 1 spot, because you're looking at this picture and you look and you think, oh, that number 2 woman, yeah, she did a good job, but she just wasn't the best. But she actually was the best woman in the race. And she deserves to be in the number 1 spot. And I don't know if there was a prize associated with this. Very often, the arguments against men competing in women's sports is that, well, the men could take the women's scholarships. You know, there's a real financial harm that's done here to women when the men get to compete. Or the men could get into college. And there's a real, harm, educational harm to the women here, because the guy could take the spot at the college. But even just the glory of the thing, even why do people engage in recreation and leisure and sports? Part of it is just for the glory, for excellence, to demonstrate excellence, and so that other people can marvel at that excellence. And that woman was robbed of her rightful place by a very confused man, a very disturbed man that we are all indulging. And it's just wrong, even as a matter of celebration and sport and glory. Okay, it is a non sequitur that if a guy just chops off a body part or takes some estrogen or something, that he becomes a woman. Speaking of non sequiturs, we love, on the right, we love when a liberal seems a little bit more conservative. And so everybody is fawning over Bill Maher. And I kind of like Bill Maher did a bit on his show the other day about me after my CPAC speech. And it was pretty funny. I generally get a kick out of Bill Maher. But Bill Maher has this problem where he'll make a good point and then totally undercut his point. He just did that on the religion of climate change.
All right, so we had yet another one of those reports this week from the UN Intergalactic Panel on Climate, or that's not the real name of it, but it's something like that. I feel like talk about Groundhog Day. I feel like I've read this report every year. And it's always the same. The world is coming to an end, which I think it is, by the way. I think disaster is coming. But they always seem to predict very specifically when, and some of those dates have already passed. I think they should, first of all, stop doing that, you know, because it really bleeds their credibility. It's kind of like what the Western medical establishment found out about COVID. Don't lie about it, because you will lose their credibility.
Yeah, right. They don't have credibility anymore. The Western medical establishment burned their credibility during COVID. The sky is going to fall. Climate people have burned their credibility for 50 years now because all their doomsday predictions keep being proven false. And yet, Bill Maher says, and I think the world is ending. Yeah, I think they're right. I think they're right ultimately, but they're tarnishing a lot of their credibility. So it's just they need to stop. They need to be more cautious. Well, I thought Bill Maher was the logical guy. I mean, I never thought Bill Maher was the logical guy, but he presents himself as, I'm the rational guy, I'm the logical guy. I'm an atheist, I just follow the science. What's he say? He says, well, all the evidence says the world isn't ending. All the people claiming the world is ending have been proven wrong time and time again. That all the people who claim the world is ending have been proven wrong even on other predictions they've made, not related to their claims about the world ending. But I still believe the world is ending. This is cognitive dissonance of the highest caliber. But it's much easier for these liberals to convince themselves of something that they had previously they just immediately admitted was not true. They can convince themselves to continue to believe in it more easily than they can convince themselves to change their behavior and to cease to be liberals. They just can't. It's so devastating. I remember as I became more and more conservative than I previously had been, I remember thinking, man, it is really hard to give up liberalism, because liberalism defines our whole political order, or at least has for a long time now. And to give that up and to say, wow, it's wrong. The predictions they make are wrong. The things they say about human nature are wrong. They now say men are women and women are men. It was wrong. The things they say about the human person, the things they say about society and it's just wrong. They're just wrong. And they don't have credibility. So when people keep getting things wrong and they don't have credibility, you know what you got to do? You got to stop listening to them and start listening to people who make more sense. That's what we do over on the Nostradamus Membrum Segmentum, okay? We talk to people who make sense, the creme de la creme. If you're part of the hoi polloi here on YouTube, get on over to Daily Wire. Go to dailywire.com/Knowles. Use code Knowles at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans.